Greetings of peace. Welcome to another program here on Sure TV. My name is Dr. Azar. Here I am with Genesis Medical Center and with Sure TV, better known as Dr. Zachariah, fondly known as. Today, we're trying to reflect and see the positive notes of 2020 and how we can reflect on those and look ahead to 2021. It's basically our last show for the year 2020, and we would like to kind of concisely summarize our experiences and our ups and downs of 2020 so that we can reflect and learn and move on to 2021. And, it doesn't need to be said that 2020 has been a very unique and special year in multiple ways for all of us, where probably the majority of human civilization living in the world has never experienced such a health crisis as a pandemic. And as we know, we were informed of this news of a pandemic slowly trickling down from the administration, the Trump administration here back in the 20th, 23rd of January of 2020. And we all heard a little bit about what was going on. Here and there, we saw a lot of news bits of things happening in China last year in December and in January. And it got to the point where finally there were announcements made, and then there was a ban of travel from and to China last year in the beginning, and that was made very abruptly because of information that was shared with our administration, with the government, and then slowly that information trickled down. And at first, the story goes that the public did not want to be startled or they didn't want to scare people, but which meant that we were less informed in the beginning. And slowly, the news came out, and people got a serious grip of what's going on in terms of their health. This was happening in the midst of an impeachment, which would get proper news coverage if it were a normal news cycle or in a year, but it wasn't. So the majority of the coverage that we get and that we have gotten this year has been on this pandemic health crisis and the sheer number of human beings suffering from it and getting infected, and unfortunately a lot of people losing their lives to it. And moving forward, coming to present, end of the year 2020, Southern California, specifically LA County, has become now the epicenter for the pandemic. And even though we have silver linings in the form of vaccines that have been approved, and the administration has started of the vaccines for the first line workers and the assisted home living seniors, and the SNFs, which are the senior nursing facilities, we are still in the midst of what they're calling a dark winter for 2020, because we have more than 2,500 people now daily giving their lives to this pandemic, unfortunately, and our thoughts and prayers are with them and their families, because our human condition necessitates that we have empathy. And this year, 2020, illustrated that more than any other year, because we need to have empathy. And if we don't have empathy for our fellow human beings and citizens living in our cities, in our counties, in our country, then what's the point of our humanity? If we cannot empathize with them, and we cannot make simple changes in our lives so that we protect the well-being of others, then what's the point? What's the purpose of actually existing if it's just a sort of a selfish existence? So these are the kind of things that we have been kind of faced with. And of course, with it came a lot of economic and different social uh, limitations, as we saw and as we do see currently. Back in March and April, there were the initial set of lockdowns, and it was 3 to 4 weeks where people were prohibited from doing anything but the essentials outside their home. And we were asked, and willingly, most people obliged, we were asked to stay home other than for essential travel, which it was just for shopping for groceries or going to an emergency doctor's visit or anything of that sort. Other than that, it was all um, only for essential necessities. Um, Looking back at it, other major events that happened politically, there was a lot of, especially in the U.S., a lot of political turmoil, a lot of back and forth with the Democrats, Republicans, and a lot of legal maneuvering. And we did in the U.S. get another Supreme Court justice, and unfortunately, Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away this year as well. That was a big loss for the judicial branch of the United States. She was a pioneer in women's rights and other progressive movements from the judicial branch, and she was a sort of what they're calling a beacon of light on the Supreme Court. So she was replaced and rather abruptly and quickly, and that happened, through some political upheaval. Nonetheless, that happened. In the sports world, the biggest news I think was the demise of Kobe Bryant on, I think it was January 26th, 2020, when his helicopter crashed out in California in Calabasas as he was going to a game for his daughter about an hour and a half from his home. So he was on a helicopter journey to the practice or to the game, and the flying conditions weren't optimal. So unfortunately, they hit the side of a hill in Calabasas, and both, Kobe, his wife, his daughter, and his other teammates and a couple of other coaches, unfortunately, passed away. That was pretty tragic in the sports world. But main thing that happened, was this pandemic. And the lessons that we learned from the pandemic and the silver linings that we see are more of ethical and moral values that we, moving forward, should really, really focus on. And the question that I ask always is, what can we teach our children from this experience? Because they, in reality, our youth and our children are the future, and they will be dealing with these kind of issues moving forward in terms of life in general. We're middle-aged, we're here another 30, 20, 40 years, whatever it is. But the children that are growing up in this era, they're learning the lessons that they will hold with them for decades to come. And one thing that I'd like to emphasize is the idea of this individual freedom and the extent of it. We can always have our own liberties and our own freedoms, which is very important, and it's part and parcel of the American system, of the American, the right to liberty. It's part of the Declaration of Independence. But again, there's a limit, and the limit comes when there's harm done to others. And that's very important, very important. Our first line health workers know this more than anything else because they're on the front lines working, and we appreciate them and we thank them all. But at the same time, we are seeing a lot of people that are acting irresponsibly, which means that they're continuing to go out and see their family members outside of their immediate family. They're continuing to travel. They're continuing to carelessly, basically, avoid the warnings on the pandemic. And as a result of that, we see that the numbers have exponentially grown. The numbers are much higher now than they were back in April or March when this pandemic started. And currently in California, specifically Southern California, there's almost a 0 to 2% utilization capacity at the ICUs currently, and we still haven't gotten our people that have traveled for Christmas yet. That's still another 5 to 10 days out. So it's a scary situation, especially if you're someone with an underlying condition, if you're someone who's an elderly, senior, and if you're someone that has any type of illness that, or God forbid, some type of accident that you need to go to the ER for in Southern California, it's a very difficult situation. The waits are long. There's not enough beds available. They're scrambling to provide more beds and come up with new ways so that capacity is increased. And this, in my opinion, is solely based on the notion that unfortunately a lot of people feel entitled and they don't follow the rules and regulations that's set by their county or state or national authorities. When in fact we should be, because the end result of this type of behavior is, in the end, people not getting medical service that they need. And also, increasing the interactions will increase the infection rates, and it won't hold them down. We see others in Europe and England and even in places like Singapore, Taiwan, and Wuhan itself, where the pandemic started. They have come to a point where they've controlled the situation very well, and the numbers decreased. And the number one reason is because the society, the people, abided by the rules and regulations. And that's a stark difference that we see from that to what we're seeing locally here in Southern California and some other Midwest states that we see in the US, where people are not accepting the guidelines and the information from the authorities. And it's unfortunate, but that's something where people are put in positions of authority. They're elected. They're selected. However they got there, they're there now, and it's up to the citizenry. Even though you might have disagreements, to at least, when there's edicts and the information that is given to follow, because it'll help with public safety and health, to at least abide by that. Momentarily. They're not asking you to do it forever. It's just for 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks. Fortunately now, President-elect Biden has said that in the first 100 days of the new administration, he's going to require masks to be worn, sort of a mask mandate, which hasn't happened in 2020 from this other administration, which I believe they've done a haphazard job on this pandemic issue, because we could have saved much more lives, and we could have taken care of these things earlier on. The one silver lining that we see to all this is that we see that humans have come together, funds were put together, and we see that in a matter of a year, we had that German scientists from Turkish origin come up with the vaccine for BioNTech and Pfizer, and that has been distributed now, and it's being administered to multiple healthcare facilities, as well as now seniors living in senior facilities. So that's a silver lining, where it shows the ingenuity of human beings when the funding and the science and the knowledge and the collaboration can come together. You have a Turkish gentleman with a company in Germany who contracted with a US company, Pfizer, and they have this vaccine out in a matter of probably 10 to 12 months now, almost, even less than that, and they've had the vaccine out, and that's going to make a huge dent into the equation, and we can start seeing the light under the at the end of the tunnel for that. And like that, there's a Moderna vaccine, and AstraZeneca currently is getting approved in the UK for utilization and distribution. So these things are happening, and we see a lot of good hearted human beings sacrificing for their other brethren and other human beings living in their society. And the first and foremost members of society that have sacrificed a lot have been the frontline healthcare workers. And, they're there, they're taking care of all these people that are coming in with these symptoms. Currently, there's a huge outbreak of what they call pandemic pneumonia, which is the pneumonia associated with COVID-19. People are short of breath. They're coming into the ERs, and they're being triaged and taken care of. And it's these frontline workers that are that have families and they have their own risks at hand, but yet they're still taking care of others because this is what they set out to do in life. Their purpose was to help others, and that's a beautiful thing when you look at that. And I talk to my children about that all the time. I say, hey, there are people who are being sort of lackluster and irresponsible, who are not abiding by all these rules and regulations, and they're just going out and about. And some of them still deny wearing masks, and they deny that this thing gets transmitted through respiratory droplets. And then, of course, it didn't help where in the beginning the administration was calling it a hoax and a little flu, a cold, and everything will be fine. But now, everyone has come to terms with it. Again, people are washing their hands, watching for social distancing, as well as wearing their masks. And the awareness has increased. And hopefully people will abide by these small rules and regulations that are temporary. They're not permanent. They are temporary. And I think it behooves us to follow those. And, I tell my kids, and I kind of illustrate to them, this is what 2020 has been about. It's been about personal responsibility versus societal responsibility. And we as human beings have to look at that and look at this year as that type of year. And fortunately, we live here and we have the means to help each other. And we have a society where eventually everyone will be able to get the vaccine coming in 2021. So we're fortunate again, and we need to still count our blessings and look forward to having healthier lives moving forward. There are others that we can think about, unfortunately, in different third world countries, in different parts of the world where they don't have these amenities and they don't have the technology or the distribution channels to get all these things. And that's something that we have to think about as a first world country. We have to make sure that everybody gets taken care of, not just us. And that's something where it requires empathy, it requires thought, forethought, and thinking and strategizing. And that'll only make us better human beings. So that's, I think, the major thing that we have to think about is the gratitude we have for everything, all the blessings that we have currently. And then moving forward, trying to keep our perspective and really wondering why these restrictions were set. They're not there to benefit any personal or any organizational need. It's there for public safety measures, and that's the bottom line. The bottom line is public safety measures. And I think moving forward, listening to the news and seeing things that are happening, we'll see more and more stories of people helping their fellow human beings. And 2020 has been, in my opinion, a story of not only technological innovations and collaborations that have expedited the advent of this vaccine in 5 or 6 different companies, but it's also about human interaction and how humans can together, through empathy, help each other and move forward and keep the human race in a state where public safety concerns are important. And we look beyond everything to make sure that we protect our lives and the lives of our people that are living with us in society. It's very important, whether they're the weaker, older people or whether they're people that have different conditions. it is our duty to help these people, and the way we help them is by protecting ourselves and protecting others from getting more of this infection during this pandemic. I think that's the most important thing currently, and that's on everybody's minds, whether young or old, rich or poor, in the U.S. or not in the U.S. It's affected everybody, and this is something which has focused our attention on taking care of each other, taking care of our loved ones and our neighbors, our community, our counties, our states, our country. And that's the unity that is needed to defeat such a pandemic. It's very important. It's very important. And I think 2020 for us has been that that calling, where we need to kind of look up from our own simple lives and what we're doing for ourselves, and make it more of a comprehensive existence for ourselves and to benefit others. That's the most important thing, and the most beneficial human beings, and the most rewarded human beings, and the most content human beings are those that are doing the best service to others. And not only will that psychologically help everybody and keep you in a good state, but it will also physically manifest in your health as well when you're actually doing good for others. That's a very important point that 2020 has emphasized. And moving forward to 2021, we're going to need more of that, and we're going to need more compliance, and we're going to need more optimism. Humans are optimists by nature, and if you have negative thoughts or negative thinking, you can actively stop that and move forward and beyond that, and look at the positive things in your life, and look at the good things that are happening moving forward. And I think that's basically been the reflection of 2020 for me. And with all these events and happenings and occurrences that you know about, and the news that covers night and day, keep that in mind and keep yourself healthy, well, and content. It's very important to be content. With that, I'd like to close this program, and hopefully we'll see you in the new year. You guys have a safe, sound, and safety distancing new year. And I hope that you take care of yourselves, and we'll see you next year for our next show. Take care, and Happy New Year to everybody.